So, okay, this guy that we're going to see in the video is the vice principal of Neptune Middle School in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Guy by the name of Michael Smurrow tossed his beverage at a customer sitting in an outdoor dining area of Fred and Ethel's Lantern Light Restaurant and Tavern, apparently in New Jersey. Does it redirect to the right-wingers bought that shit then?
Yeah. That's no. The kid is what's the most concerning.
I mean, it's a.
So I believe there was a transphobic rant. I was hoping we'd get to see the rant. I don't.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say on your video? Because I'm right here. Is there anything else you want to say about that, ma'am?
You can let me know.
You need to be out.
No, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, so this is the woman who apparently was on a transphobic rant. The restaurant was apologizing to the patrons.
The man pissing in the bathroom, in the women's bathroom.
Kids around here. Chill out.
Oh, there she goes.
Man. Should I go get she was in the women's bathroom. She's a man, but she's a man.
You're being inappropriate. Take your hate elsewhere, please.
She was a man.
Please take your hate elsewhere.
She was a man pissing in the women's bathroom. That's not my issue.
We got a great view.
She's not a woman. She's a man. Please remove yourself. She's not a man. She's a man. She's not a woman. All right, okay.
Thank you.
You? She's a man. How are you okay with that?
You're even.
There you go, pal. There you go. There you go.
What's wild is like she's using the correct pronouns. She is a woman. That's why you're calling her she. That's why she's in the women's bathroom. This guy, this is wild. He comes up and throws beer on them.
Take your hate elsewhere, please.
She was a man.
Please take your hate elsewhere.
She was a man pissing in the women's bathroom. That's not my issue.
We got a great view.
She's not a woman. Man. Please remove yourself. She's not a man. She's a man. She's not a woman. All right, okay.
Thank you.
You? She's a man.
She's a woman.
There you go, pal. There you go. There you go.
How fucking rude is it? Go beat his ass.
Come out. Come on. Now you can come out. Now you can come out.
She's a man. Are you serious?
She's a woman. You even say she.
Get the fuck out of here, you homophobic piece of shit. Keep going. Keep going. That's assault. That's assault. That's assault.
This is definitely New Jersey, now that I've heard the accent.
Somebody call the police.
That's assault.
I thought he was going to climb over this rope.
I thought he was throwing that at you, yeah. Somebody want to see what car they get in?
Go report him.
The plate?
You good, man?
Yeah, you
That
alright?
was so uncomfortable.
Everybody okay?
God damn. Smurrow apologized for tossing his beer in a Tuesday email to the Associated Press. I allowed my emotions to get in the way of my normally sound judgment. I don't think you have normally sound judgment, sir. And reacted in a way that was inappropriate, he wrote. I do not condone violence or discrimination of any kind and should have simply walked away. I apologize to the person I threw my beer at and wish I hadn't done so. I apologize to anyone I offended. The Neptune Township School District, where he is a vice principal, addressed the incident in a statement on its website yesterday. This event is troubling as its perception potentially threatens the social, emotional well-being and climate of belonging that our Neptune School District community represents. Although we cannot comment on the details of confidential personnel matters, we can say the Board of Education and Administration are taking this matter seriously. Lisa Smurrow, meanwhile, remained unrepentant in an interview with Breaking AC. I said she gave an interview. The video containing the actual beer toss has gone viral. SpongeBob SquareHead and Geraldo. Hannity was, he's got, it might be tomorrow night. He's got, the woman running to be your governor, Caitlyn Jenner, is going to be on Hannity tonight or tomorrow. And remember, like, I haven't really brought it up on the show because, you know, fuck Caitlyn Jenner, but don't fuck her because, like, she's trans. Or maybe fuck her because she's trans. Maybe you're into that. You know, I don't discriminate in that way at all. But, like, she killed a person with her car. And she's just all around not a good human being. However, she deserves to be properly gendered and treated with respect in that regard. I'm a firm believer in that. Especially in this time when trans rights are under assault all over this fucking country. West Virginia transgender athlete bill signed by Governor Jim Justice. West Virginia's governor signed a bill Wednesday that bans transgender athletes from competing in female sports in middle and high schools and colleges. The bill was among 38 signed by Republican Governor Jim Justice. It had narrowly passed the state Senate, which had added the college component before being overwhelmingly approved in the House of Delegates. Justice said earlier this week that he would proudly sign the bill because he's a proud transphobe. Piece of shit. Used to be a Democrat, left and joined the Republicans. So probably does belong over there now, doesn't he? He said that he would proudly sign the bill despite warnings from some lawmakers that the NCAA could retaliate and decide not to hold college tournaments in the state. Amazingly enough, I think that might actually, the NCAA, which is horrible in a million other ways, is actually taking the right position on this issue. That might actually be able to put some pressure enough on these states to get to overturn these bills, because unfortunately we live in a capitalist society and we have to put commercial pressure in order to get public policy done because our goddamn federal government is deadlocked. The NCAA in 2016 moved championships out of North Carolina in response to a bill legislating transgender people's use of public restrooms. Bills seeking to ban transgender girls from competing on girls' sports teams in public schools also have been enacted this year in Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Mississippi, while South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has implemented the move by executive order. That's how anti-trans she is. Had to do it by executive order. Last night in his speech, Biden mentioned it, and I hope it's not just lip service. This piece from Vice, Biden told trans kids he's got their back, but states keep attacking them. On Wednesday, during his first joint address to Congress, President Joe Biden made his support for trans rights clear, but he didn't exactly provide many specifics about how he plans to translate rhetoric into action, which is desperately needed right now because the Republicans are certainly taking action. But they've also got goddamn ALEC, the legislative, I forget what the fucking acronym stands for. American Legislative Executive Count, fucking some think tank that writes legislation. It's why you see a spat of bills pop up all over the fucking country, because it's one Republican organization. If you're not aware of this, the American Legislative Exchange Council. American Legislative Exchange Council. They write these bills, and they're like cookie cutter, boilerplate, to use legalese. And they just send them to all the different state Republican apparatuses who then push them through. That's why you see the same bills popping up all across these different states. It's not because the way fucking democracy is supposed to work, a representative thinks up an idea and then sends it through committee and all that shit. No, they just fucking spam this shit out to their followers. The words were weighty, especially coming from a president who brought up trans people and the issue that shaped their lives since the literal first day of his presidency. They were especially striking in the wake of the Trump administration, which was determined to stamp out trans rights and protections. But Biden's declaration also arrived at the same time that state houses across the U.S. are unleashing a devastating wave of attacks on trans people. And Biden offered little information about how or if he plans to counter these attacks or force an wow, I really fucked that up.
Intransigent.
Or force an intransigent Congress to protect LGBTQ plus rights on the federal level. This is the words Biden used in a speech.
My desk, the Equality Act to protect LGBTQ Americans. For all transgender Americans watching at home, especially young people, you're so brave. I want you to know your president has your back.
In his first 100 days as president, Biden has taken some action to protect trans youth. His Justice Department recently withdrew its support for a lawsuit in Connecticut that sought to block trans athletes in the state from participating in girls' sports. The lawsuit was dismissed this week, and it was dismissed on the grounds that the girls are no longer participating in sports because they graduated, so there's no standing anymore. So I hate that court cases sometimes get kicked down the road. The courts didn't fucking decide this. They just dismissed the case because it didn't have standing. And if I remember correctly, one of the plaintiffs actually ended up finishing ahead of the defendant at regionals or state or whatever the fuck. So, because they were claiming that it was unfair, but yet they finished ahead of the person they're fucking discriminating against. Also, that is one of the few instances, this specific case is one of the few instances that right-wingers can actually point to. So far this year, legislators in at least 31 states have introduced bills that would exclude trans athletes from participating in sports that match their gender identity. 20 states have also introduced bills that would block trans youth from accessing gender-affirming care, such as puberty blockers. We need to make that abundantly clear. You can't engage in medical procedures when you're underage. Puberty blockers are not altering anything. They are puberty blockers, and they are safe. They just prevent puberty, delay it. Exactly that. So that's what they mean when they're talking about gender-affirming care. So on Wednesday, the same night that Biden addressed both houses of Congress and the country, West Virginia Governor Jim Justice, a Republican, signed a bill into law to block trans girls and women, the target of much of this legislation, from playing at sports that correspond with their gender. Hours later, the Florida state legislature rammed through a ban to do the same. Zoom out further, and the current picture for LGBTQ plus people in the U.S. becomes even bleaker. State lawmakers have introduced more than 250. Once again, Alec, that's how they're able to turn out all these bills. More than 250 anti-LGBTQ plus bills this year, including the anti-trans bills. This is according to the Human Rights Campaign. The organization has declared that 2021 is set to become the worst year for LGBTQ state legislative attacks in recent memory. Chase Strangio, Deputy Director for Transgender Justice at the ACLU, told Vice News earlier this year, before Biden took office, that his administration could go after states that enact anti-trans laws in court, as well as use federal funding as a cudgel. And he absolutely should. Going through the Title IXs and the Title X, I don't know exactly which ones apply. Title IX, there we go. We know that the Biden administration is going to take an aggressive and protective position on trans rights, said Strangio. There's definitely a risk that states will either be sued by the federal government or put their Title IX funding at risk. The Biden administration has yet to sue over a single anti-trans bill passed this year, although it's early days for any litigation. Meanwhile, the Equality Act, a federal bill meant to expand LGBTQ rights and protections, has languished in the Senate since its passage in the House in February. On Wednesday, Biden urged that might be another one of those things where they have to fucking get rid of the filibuster to pass it. Almost certainly, because no goddamn way there's going to be right-wingers sign on to that one. We've got to get rid of the filibuster to make any progress. But the fact that he had to make that request at all... Hold on. Let me backtrack. Meanwhile, the Equality Act, a federal bill meant to expand LGBTQ rights and protections, has languished in the Senate since its passage in February. On Wednesday, Biden urged Congress to get the Equality Act to his desk so he could sign it. But the fact that he had to make that request at all reveals the Fed's lack of action on the topic. Biden had once promised to make enacting the Equality Act a top legislative priority in his first 100 days in office, a milestone he has now missed. As of today, I do believe. So that will be an issue that I will definitely be on Biden's ass about going forward.